You're listening to Trek FM.
Hello and welcome to From There to Here, Trek FM's 50th anniversary rewatch of all 729 Star Trek adventures from Broken Bow, Oklahoma, all the way to Yorktown Base and Star Trek Beyond. I'm your host for today's episode, Lee Hutchison, and I'm joined by Amy Nelson again. Hello Amy, how are you?
I am doing fabulous, so excited to be talking some Voyager and Deep Space Nine today.
Yeah, it's an exciting pair of episodes, isn't it? So, well, we should dive in because I think there's a lot to talk about, in especially the first Voyager episode, Retrospect.
Well, we have 7 of 9 claiming to have been assaulted by an arms trader who just sold new technology to Voyager. So, Lee, what did you think of Retrospect?
Yeah, I think this was one episode that I've kind of overlooked in the years. That, you know, it's like we've all got our favourite episodes of Star Trek, of, you know, any series, and Retrospect's one of those episodes I don't think I've kind of maybe ever rewatched again since I watched it the first time. Maybe I saw bits and pieces here and there, but yeah, I think it's a really powerful episode. I think there's some amazing things in there, some parts that just frustrate me a little bit, but I think it's I can't really beat around the bush. I think the allegory of rape that I think it alludes to with 7 of 9 is a really powerful and interesting thing, especially in the current climate we've got. That, you know, do we believe the accuser, or do we put so much pressure on someone that we create false memories? How do we treat someone that we accuse of rape? I think it's a really interesting argument to be made. It's ambiguous, which is very interesting for a debate, but then is it too safe by picking to not to pick a side? It's a one I'm still trying to work my way through. I'm curious to hear what you think, Amy, whether you kind of got the same feelings or what your takeaway from Retrospect was.
No, I thought by them not ending it with a clear that it was rape, that it wasn't, I think that just leaves it open for debate and discussion, which is what true to form Star Trek is. I really appreciated that it was like, well, you know, is she making these false accusations, and what does that do to the person who's being accused? You know, we don't really know if he's innocent or not, and the fact that he runs makes him look guilty. That he could come back, but that accusation is going to be held over you, and especially in our culture right now, you know, and then he ends up doing the worst thing possible, you know, and so I really appreciate it leaving it open, because it does give you the opportunity to really look at, you know, does 7 of 9, do we believe her or do we believe Coven? It's a great episode.
Yeah, like I totally agree. I think by keeping it ambiguous, it really does create a debate here where we can kind of take different sides and take perspectives. I think that's really good. I think maybe I'm wanting a bit more that I think, it's a really powerful statement, but you know what? The fact that we can make a statement about kind of rape culture, maybe just, you know, I think it would be almost amazing if they followed through with that side of it. But I'm the same as you. I'm almost wanting it both ways. I think both ways that they could have gone really would have been so powerful. And I think the Doctor's role in this is amazing as well. That we've all been that kind of person before, that the Doctor, that we hear a horrible thing and we take it completely at face value, that we're so sure and we're so willing to listen, that sometimes we overlook that maybe the best stance is creating an environment where someone can talk like 7 of 9 and give them a place to listen, to talk, to share, but not to go down the grounds of, I completely believe this 100% and go into the accusatory role. It's a very difficult position to be in, because I'm sure, Amy, if I was the one and you too were being confided in by 7, we probably would have done the same. We'd have gone, oh my god, I can't believe this has happened to you. Right, let's go after this. We'd have been batting for a friend 100% of the way. And sometimes that's maybe the wrong thing to do. Maybe we need to take a step back. But then, are we lesser friends for doing it? It's a very, very difficult position to, you know, we can judge the Doctor harshly, we can judge the Doctor not we can be totally understanding. It's a very difficult episode to really know who's right and who's wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, exactly right. When you are a friend, I mean, you care for someone, and we care for 7 of 9. And so if she gets hurt, we get hurt. And, in real life, when our friends get hurt, you want to go, you want to be their advocate, you want to make things right. And it's very easy to just look at the one side of the story, the situation, and just go full force and to try and right the wrong, instead of having that balanced approach that really should be in something such as serious as, a rape or any other type of false accusation.
Yeah, like, I mean, I've been accused before of being biased against Voyager, and at times I do put it down when I don't think it's good enough, and it would be the same with any TV show. But I think, real credit's due where it's here, that I don't think this episode's perfect, but I think what it attempts to do, and especially in the context of its time, the mid-90s, to kind of go for this episode is really ahead of its time. That this is the sort of thing I wouldn't be surprised if Star Trek Discovery went down or Deep Space Nine went down, but for Voyager it really is kind of brave. And Bryan Fuller wrote this episode, and I know he's got some frustrations with this episode, but I think it's really ahead of its time. And watching it the other day, I was like, it feels like it's drawn from the papers. When in the week that we're recording on this, there's the accusations against Bill Clinton, accusations against Donald Trump, accusations on how Hillary Clinton responded. Star Trek as always is so timely and sometimes ahead of the curve that, this thing happens all the time. Yeah, we're talking about it because it's happened to famous people, but something like this happens all the time. And even in the 90s, this was kind of, a culture that was happening, and Voyager did incredibly well to tap into, a very relevant and always timely situation.
Yes, I agree. So I'm going to ask, do you believe that her memories are real, or did she make them up?
It's hard to say. I think the fact that it's so ambiguous, I believe something definitely happened, and that something is 100% worth investigating. But what happened in that time frame, I don't even know. And I'd like to I like that I've kind of almost got the situation here that the other people don't have, that I can take a step away from this and I can think on it, and I can say, well, I'm going to take the moral high ground here. I don't really know what happened. But that's not really allowed for our characters in this episode. They've got to act upon it. So I'm going to hide behind, I don't really know what happened. I know that sounds kind of cowardly, but it's hard to say. Something's definitely happened, and, someone, there should be a proper investigation. What about yourself?
There just doesn't seem to be any motive for her to make them up. So I sometimes look at the motive and, wonder why Coven ran and why he would decide to, kill himself over it. But yeah, I want to believe her, but there's too many things blocking that. So
yeah, like just recently in the UK this week, there's been a kind of a rape trial that's quite kind of famous, and it's the parallels were so starting with this. There was some evidence that was kind of perfectly clear. It's that kind of, it's hard to really say, and for people, like, we have to give some to Kevin as well. If it's not true, he's got to bear that brunt, and how that can affect his life. It's a horrible situation to be in, and I'm sure we could spend hours and hours doing an episode on this, and maybe something that the Ready Room, I don't know if they've done an episode on this, but I think an episode like going down that avenue could be real interesting, and I'd love to hear what the people in the comment section think on this episode. I'm quite excited to read those views, opinions, differing views. We could go on and on about this episode, but yeah, we probably should dive into the next one.
Yes, we probably should.
So the next episode, Honor Among Thieves.
Well, to find an informant, Starfleet Intelligence recruits Chief O'Brien to infiltrate the Orion Syndicate, the Alpha Quadrant's main organized crime ring. So I just think finally a good O'Brien episode where he's not annoying. Oops, did I say that out loud?
Amy, I think we need to hang up Skype right now, and
dear.
let's take this out of the Babel comment. Yeah, I love O'Brien, but yeah, I'm a big fan of O'Brien. He's that kind of that everyman, and I never found him annoying. What is it kind of that annoys you about O'Brien?
He just seems whiny a lot, and probably it's a residue from because I'm such a Next Generation fan that I didn't care for him in TNG as much because he just was whining all the time. And so I guess that might be a little residual, but this episode definitely, if any of them, definitely would change my mind. I think he did a fabulous job, and his part and what he did was just so good. I mean, he played it perfectly, I thought.
Yeah, like I'm now going to have to do this podcast from my fainting couch. Yeah, I think one thing I'd love to say is I love the Blade Runner imagery on the planet. It was hard not to draw parallels with that for me. But yeah, I think this is a fantastic O'Brien episode. Yeah, there's definitely a lot to get out of this. It was like Retrospect, an episode that I've kind of never bothered to rewatch much, especially season 6. We've got so many amazing episodes, and I tend to always dive into the war episodes because I love that arc so much. But yeah, I think O'Brien comes out of this really, really well, and the Federation, I think, less so. One kind of part I took away from it was, we've got the Federation here are willing to get the Klingons to massacre the Orions, and isn't that just kind of similar what the Dominion have done? That they've pulled a few strings, the Dominion will come through, the Federation will kind of take on the Klingons because they've pulled a few strings, the Klingons will take on the Cardassians because they've pulled a few strings. It's almost that idea that Dominion is that kind of the evil version of the Federation. We've still got kind of In the Pale Moonlight to come, and we're seeing that kind of parallel again, that the Federation will really do anything if need be and stuff. We've got Simple Investigation coming on. They really are kind of really getting into this vein that the Federation ain't everything it's cracked up to be in terms of the moral side of situations.
Mm-hmm. And typical to Deep Space Nine, we don't really have this happy ending feeling, even though O'Brien makes it home okay, and but it doesn't like, oh, everything's good. That's still, I just think true to form to Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, absolutely. And that decision he makes at the end, like I love it when he tells is it Big B and stuff. Yeah. Oh, don't tell me this. Don't tell me this. I don't want to hear this. Like your heart really breaks. They seem to have almost have a father-son relationship there, or kind of like a son-uncle relationship. I think I totally buy into it. And your heart almost bleeds for this guy at the end.
Absolutely.
He's just someone in the kind of lower chain. The Federation weren't even out to get him, and even though he was going into a situation where he was going to die, your heart breaks for him that he had that way out, that he could have done it, but you know what? He took it for the team, that he knew his family could have been thrown on the fire, and yeah, he took it. It's powerful stuff. Yeah,
I mean, you've got a good guy doing wrong things, He was a good guy.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about this episode?
Well, I just thought it was really funny when the turbo lift, Worf and Dax were coming up, and Jadzia gets out and then helps Worf out. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that idea that it's always nice to be reminded how important O'Brien is keeping that station running. So God knows what happened after the end of Deep Space Nine when he left. Like, I can imagine it's just floated down and crashed into Bajor as soon as he was off the runabout launching pad.
Absolutely falling apart for sure.
Yeah, so Amy, if people want to tell you what they think of Retrospect and Honor Among Thieves, where can people find you?
Well, I'd love to hear what they have to say, and they can find me on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, and also on the Babel Conference, Trek FM's dedicated Facebook group.
Good plug. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Lee_Nostromo. You can find me on the Babel Conference, and you can find me on my own podcast, The Senate Floor. We talk about geek culture and issues with Tristan Riddell and Matt Hansen. Yeah, we'd love for you to join us there as well. So yeah, let us know what you think. I'm so excited to hear your thoughts on Retrospect. I think it could be a fantastic discussion. So please, yeah, let us know what you think, and hopefully you've enjoyed our discussion. It's a tricky one to discuss, but yeah, I'd love to hear your views. So yeah, until tomorrow when we're returning with Space Nazis, that's rare for Star Trek, you can listen to many of our other podcasts, but we'll speak to you tomorrow. Live long and prosper.